To the microphone, so there are people on Zoom, correct? Okay, so my presentation is here. It's just not here yet. It's warming up. It's in the oven. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a reprieve from the title. Okay, I may have to walk with it because okay, yeah. I'm going to move around. I'm going to move around. Uh, so I am originally from Compton, California. I spent the first 20 years there, and then I spent the next 20 years in Las Cruces, for the most part. I mean, I went off to the University of Northern Iowa to get my master's degree. I got my bachelor's degree at New Mexico State, like you said. Hello, come on in, come on in. I've just introduced myself. My presentation is deciding it'll load up when it wants to, so don't worry about it. And so I'm from Compton, and went to Santa Monica, went to the University of Northern Iowa, and then I came back to UTEP, married, and then had a child, also got a divorce. So, you know, I have the whole full arc of a human being in my only 49 years, since we want to talk about it. But in that time, I studied borderland studies. Now, you all have heard the term borderlands, but most people don't understand what the study is. And the study that I have been focusing on is the border that has to do with race. Now, raise your hand if you believe race exists. Is that most of it? Race. Does race exist? Raise your hand. Let me see. One. Okay. 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 That's what. As soon as my presentation, no. So. How many people in here have heard people with Spanish heritage claiming to be white? Okay. Now, we're going to walk through this slowly, and then hopefully the presentation has started. Okay, so. How long did the Moors rule Spain? 800 years. And they were forced out in... They were forced out in what year-ish? 1490... Okay. Did anything happen in 1492? Columbus sailed the ocean blue. Yeah, I'm just tapping y'all in. I'm just making sure y'all understand where I'm going here. So if Moors, now what are Moors? Where do they come from? Africa. Negroes. Black folks. Black folks, Northern Africans, okay? For 800 years, black people, Negroes, conquered a land. Did they have any babies? Did they have any babies? Oh, in 800 years? Okay. Okay. So if black folks had babies for 800 years in this place called Spain, do you think some of those Spaniards are black? Okay, all right, we're getting closer. My presentation's not, but we are, right? So, has anyone ever heard of the one-drop rule? No, okay. We've heard the one-drop rule. Say it. Go ahead, say it.
One drop of black blood makes you black.
What is it for What is it for Indians? Is it still the one drop? Uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. What about Mexican? Is it a Mexican a race? Okay, well, I see. I got to pull the rug out from underneath you. I got to make you struggle for it for a little bit, right? Okay. This presentation is doing this on purpose. This has never happened to me, and now I want to fight. So, okay, so I'll just walk through what's supposed to be up there. Does anyone remember the census of 2020? Did anyone take the census of 2020? 2020. Okay. In the census of 2020, your government, well, let's do it this way. Raise your hand if you believe Egyptians are white people. It's not that easy to just like, yeah, they are, because we know that Egypt is in what continent? Okay, they're Africans. Egyptians are Africans. What does your government think? Now, because my presentation is not up, everyone who has a phone and who really knows how to use it, if you have a phone, please take it out, because we're going to need the phone to give us the information, because my presentation is being ornery. It's acting like, let's see if I can get another one going. Let's see. Now, if you have your phone out, I'd like you to Google census, C-E, wait, how do you spell it? Census. Okay. Census 2020, Egyptians, white people. You can put, it's just a combination of words. I was just trying to make sure you got exactly what I'm looking for. Now, what did you find? Did you end up with something giving you a preview of how your government sees Egyptians? How does your government see Egyptians? Wait a minute. No one in here. Okay, so let's add up all of the years of all of our ages in here and see. No, I'm just kidding. But there's enough age in here that you all should know what an Egyptian is, right? So why is it in 2020 they're claiming that Egyptians are white people? Oh, we haven't even gotten there. That's where I'm going to. Okay, so since you all have that up, the census shows on questions 6 and 7. So you could put census 2020, 6 and 7. And if you have it in front of you, can someone please read the note? There's a note. If you see it, look for the picture. And it's okay if you're not getting exactly what you need. It's okay. It's fine if you work with your phone. The census of 2020. So you Google that. And then you look up the images and you can find questions 6 and 7. Now, it's okay if you're not able to pull it up. I'm going to tell you what that note says. The note says, for questions 6 and 7, anyone see the census? In questions 6 and 7, for this census, Hispanic origins are not races. Yeah, do you see it? Y'all not ready. Yeah. Yes. So, okay. So it says, let me go to it. Let me just go to it. Now that my presentation is up, I'm so excited. Okay. All right. But now I got to speed through to the part I was just talking about. So I'm going to have to come back a little bit. Okay, here we go. For this census, Hispanic origins are not racist. That's what your government says. So what are they? Says who? No, do you see what I'm saying? But do you see what I'm saying? If they're not races, what are they? This, if you want to understand ICE, if you want to understand concentration camps 45 minutes away with little children, you then need to understand this right here. Not races. Now, what does that have to do with anything? I'll show you. I've already skipped past the beginning of my presentation, so I'm going to have to go back a little bit and then get back up here. But I'm just going to go back to this thing. Okay, so this part of the census is 7, right? When did Egyptians become white people? And what also happened in 2020? Who was in charge of putting that in our census? Ah, okay. So we're starting to get a little bit closer. All right. Now, does anyone know any people from Lebanon? Lebanese people? Okay. All right. Are they white people? According to the U.S. government, they are. So, if you begin to look at how 2020 gets us on this race track, you can see that there was a clear governmental need to put Egyptians as white people, Lebanese people as white people. Now, are we bombing any of these places? Oh, okay. Are we bombing, I don't know, Nigeria? You sure? You don't remember? You don't remember? Have we bombed Nigeria in the last 8 months? Okay. Have we bombed the Caribbean in the last 8 months? Okay. You could see this military campaign just in the census. Now, why do we need that? I'm going to go back so that y'all can get what I'm saying. This is Blackdom. We're going to get to Blackdom pretty soon, but I just need to get here. Now, this is the cover, but I want you to see it through the lens of the 98th meridian. Okay, what is the 98th meridian? Anyone? Any engineers in here? Any? No. 98th meridian is the beginning of, quote, the West. The 98th meridian. So the maps, all latitude, longitude, 98th meridian is what we call the West. The West has been called many things. It used to just be past the Mississippi, but eventually Manifest Destiny, 98th meridian was the West. Now, what is the difference in the West? Huh? Yeah. See, Spanish settlement. Well, we just talked about Spain a minute ago, right? 1492. Okay. And we already agreed that it's not possible that they were white people only, right? We're going to get to the now. This is what you could see in the 98th meridian. You see this here? That's all that America was. This little teeny tiny place over here, and all the rest of that was Spanish. In 1774, and but still not past the 98th meridian because the 98th meridian was all Spanish. Now, are Spanish white people? Especially in 1492, because since the Moors were there in 1492 and got kicked out, they hitched a ride with Columbus. They hitched a ride with Coronado. So you ended up with black folks at the tip of the spear in genocidal campaigns against indigenous peoples. In 1519, they were conquistadors. That's why this is a little bit complicated. If you still have your phones up, this right here is a chance for us to take a break, because I've started us, and the presentation's there. If you know how to use QR codes, go ahead and use it. This is the presentation in case you want to use it later, or the information that I give you you've never seen before, I promise. And you know, you might want to have it on your phone and ready for you, okay? And in case you want to know how to do it, if you don't, put your photo, put it on photo, camera, and then hold up the camera to it, and a yellow block or something like that will pop up. A border around it will pop up, and then you tap on whatever that border is, and it should come up. It should take you to the Prezi. See, that's the government. You think I'm kidding? You think I'm kidding? Y'all have no idea. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. So that right there is this right here is a Netflix series called Godless. We're not gonna watch it, but I just want you to know that there are intellectuals and there are artists who try to do the story of Blackdom, New Mexico. Raise your hand if you have ever heard of Blackdom, New Mexico. All right, all right, all right. How many of you have heard of Blackdom Oil Company? See what I said? I told you, I'm gonna change your life, right? So, Godless is a Netflix series, and they put Blackdom in there. It's the first time you see Blackdom on screen like that in a major Emmy-winning series. You know what they do with Blackdom? They kill everybody in the town. See, this is what I call intellectual genocide. The fact that our kids, how do our kids know that Egyptians are not white people? They don't. They know what you tell them. They know what ChatGPT says, right? Right? But y'all know that Egyptians are black folks, or at least they're definitely not Europeans, right? Intellectual genocide. So in 1920, and we're just going to talk about New Mexico, but the whole United States, which is just in New Mexico, raise your hand if you believe Mexicans are white people. Just give you one more chance. Well, according to the 1920 census, Mexicans are white people. The government created white people out of Mexicans. Now, why do you think, in New Mexico in particular, how long did it take New Mexico to become a state? When did it become a state? Why 1912. Why did it take so long? Weren't enough white people, so they created them out of Mexicans. Were they treated like white folk? Are they still today treated like white folk? So when you take away their race, they are nothing but mongrels, like you said. And you can put them in cages, and you can make their kids, oh, don't get me started. He's about to get me preaching right now. I'm about to get on the, can I get an amen? Okay, so have you heard of the 1619 Project? Okay, if you haven't, it's okay. That's why I gave the presentation. You can look it up. Now, 1619 says that black folks started off on this continent as slaves. Okay, in 1619, that's the date they give you. That's the New York Times. That's the date they give you. What date did I just give you? 1519, right? Okay, what were black folks doing in 1519? Committing genocide against indigenous peoples, yes. See, that's why I teach this history like this, so that we understand that there are no real victims here. there are certain elements to this history that we're all going to have to grapple with and why it is what it is. But the point here is, and if you want to look up, you can look up Juan Garrido. There are many black conquistadors. You could just put it, Google black conquistadors. But if not, right now you can have Juan Garrido. Juan Garrido. So 1619 starts off on the East Coast and goes west. And that's what we call the West. But what about 1519 when black folks were in charge in Mexico with large plots of land and conquistadoring? See, there's a colonization that black folks exist in that does not include simply being a slave. It includes being the tip of the spear. Think about it. So, but we're going to go to Blackdom right now. I'm past the beginning part, but you know it's a little murky right now. So I want you to understand that it's supposed to be a little bit jarring, some of the things I'm saying. Now, Blackdom, does anybody know where it is? It is, think of Roswell, think of Artesia. It's up in that area, okay? Blackdom started in 1903, okay? Before New Mexico was a state, okay? If you've heard of Blackdom, you've heard of Frank Boyer, right? Now, the story they tell, before I get to Frank Boyer, this is the actual land, and what if you go out to Blackdom, on the outskirts, you'll find two swastikas, because Blackdom started in a Confederate stronghold. Okay, that's why they were able to have Blackdom, because in 1896, Plessy v. Ferguson, separate but. See, black folks saw it and said, good, separate and equal under the law, because I don't need to be equal to you because you are morally deficient in the fact that you believe that I am subhuman, right? So you create a utopia, and that's where you exist and you commune. But if you look out there was a lot of threats, right? So they had to deal with those, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. I'm not going to give you all the history, but I'm going to give you a good chunk. Now, this is Frank Boyer. This is how he wanted to be recognized in his passing. This is the last interview with him 2 years before his passing, and he wanted to be known as son of ex-slaves, helped tame and develop the West. That was in the Clovis News Journal. Clovis News Journal, which is still out there, right? Now, what do you think Las Cruces decided to do with that same story reprinted in the Las Cruces Sun News? Vado Negro leader claims to be head of largest family in state. Now, does that sound like son of ex-slaves tamed the West? No, what you see is intellectual genocide. There's a perpetual intellectual genocide that continues in New Mexico. There's no reason why New Mexico has the largest concentration of PhDs and 50th in education, except it being on purpose, because the intellectual genocide is what allows the continual colonization that goes all the way back to 1519. We can go on about that. Now, this history that I'm telling you got me fired. So, be careful with what I'm telling you. Now, I'm going to skip through. I'm going to show you the land in a little bit. So this is generally what it looks like. Like in the normal, it gets green. Like we call, it gets green, but this is pretty much it. I'm going to skip through. Okay, so I'm going back to the article on Frank Boyer because I need to make this point, particularly for those who know Blackdom, okay? The intellectual genocide that has been perpetuated in New Mexico says that Frank Boyer ran away from the Klan in Georgia, and that's how he got to his promised land in New Mexico. That's a lie. How do I know it's a lie? Because in his last interview, you can see on the last part, it says, there has never been a lynching within the borders of the county, he says. This was in 1947. The Ku Klux Klan in New Mexico had already taken over and been here for 20 years. So he wanted to make sure you knew I came out here for the opportunity rather than just being scared of some white people. Now, number one, he was at Fort Huachuca in the late 1800s. In like 1890s and that kind of thing, he was at Fort Huachuca as a Buffalo soldier. He then went off to Morehouse and then became a minister. And then he was a Freemason. So minister, military man, and Freemason. Then he comes to Blackdom as a colonizer. Again, it's an extension of that 1519 project of colonization that I was telling you about. Because where is Blackdom? On Mescalero Apache reservation land. You see, it's a black occupation, even though it's surrounded by Confederates. I can give you the populations and all that other stuff. You can go through it. Now, here are not just Frank Boyer, but 13 founders. 13 founders. No, this is an anemic patriarchal society. So it's patriarchal, but you know, it's only patriarchal because the women accept it. They often don't. I'm going to get to that in a minute. This is just a homestead record. I'm going to go through it. Let's see. Did I miss that? Nah, we can go past that one. Okay, so I'm going to try to get us. How much time do I have? Well, I just want to say, like, if you decided to go through this presentation, you'll see that, you know, Blackdom was known from the state of Washington all the way to South Carolina. You can see here in Indiana in 1903, just a bunch of ads advertising Blackdom's organization here, you know, Silver Lake and Middlebury and many other places. So let me see if I can go see here. And this is the normal ad that went out. I'm not going to bother you with it because it just says that Blackdom is here, right? To get people to the colony. Yes. Immigration, yes. Migration. So you'll see this is the standard ad right here. Blackdom, $10,000 in stock. Established a college in New York, named Blackdom. So Blackdom wasn't hiding. These black folks weren't, you know, just a refuge and, oh, we got to keep ourselves quiet. Now, now, revival. So the beginning was homesteading, right? The revival starts when homesteading picks up in the desert. And it picks up in the desert because of the Homestead Enlarged Act, okay? That allowed you to go from 160 acres to 320 acres, up to a whole square mile of desert, hard to irrigate land. Why are they doing that? Because the West was never colonized fully. So you have to entice people to go out there, so you give them a whole mile of land. Well, some people liked it, went out there, and this is the Enlarged Act here. Frank Boyer and Daniel Keyes, what you'll see here, this is the census of 1910. Frank Boyer was already in Afrotopia. He was already in a promised land. Now imagine you were born on a plantation. You're the first to be born free of 17 children. You lead your 10 children and your wife, along with the rest of your family, including your father, who was born on a plantation as an enslaved person in 1822. You make it all the way to this place called New Mexico. You build a town, incorporate it, and call it Blackdom, you made it. Now, why is it being in Blackdom? And because once you pass the Pecos River, it's the end of Jim Crow. Jim Crow stopped at the Pecos River. Frank had his first homestead 5 miles west of the Pecos River. And this was known all over. We could talk about the Crisis magazine and so on. But here you can see in New Mexico, this is still before New Mexico is a state. Blackdom wants a school, and it's asking for a curriculum from the state because they have their own schools. Now this might blow your mind. I don't know if y'all ready for this. Blackdom had an HBCU, a historically black college, putting out PhDs before New Mexico was a state. It was called, that yellow line right there. Let me see. That might be small for y'all. Let me see if I can make that a little bit bigger. The Blackdom Normal Industrial and Theological College, located in Dexter, New Mexico, which is 5 miles east of the Pecos River. It's on the Pecos, actually, but however you want to see it. So, when it was founded, it doesn't say here, but this is 1911. And there's so much here, I have to really be judicious. Now, that's 14, 15. George Malone is the first black man in New Mexico to argue in front of the New Mexico Supreme Court, and he was also a homesteader in Blackdom. Now, if you want to know what happened to Blackdom, this is it. Basically, the state and federal and local peoples, this is now 1916, the state, federal, and local racists from the South who was taking over New Mexico decided that they would take away, okay, I'm going to read it in Spanish. Y'all ready? El juez federal William Guillermo H. Pope in abolido la oficina del comisario de los Estados Unidos in Blackdom. Basically, Judge H.W. Pope has abolished the office of U.S. Commissioner at Blackdom. Why is this important? Because the commissioner is basically the law. And once you take the law out of Blackdom, you take the sovereignty out of Blackdom, then you are now at the mercy of the Ku Klux Klan. Because you don't write your own papers. Everyone know what a commissioner is, basically, right? They have, I don't want to go through that too much, but let's just say that the white folks weaponized the legal system against black folks. Okay, now, have you ever heard of a black woman striking oil? Yes? Okay. Have you ever heard of a black woman in the Wild West? Okay. A black woman in the Wild West who's a madam, bootlegger, gunslinger, and the largest stakeholder in the Blackdom Oil Company? You ain't never heard of that. Blackdom Oil Company. Okay? So we're not just talking about one person striking oil. We're talking about a whole town of black folks striking oil in New Mexico during the Roaring '20s and the Harlem Renaissance, even participated in the Harlem Renaissance from New Mexico. But in Roswell, there was a madam bootlegger gunslinger. Her name was Mittie Moore. And this is her house. Still stands. Now, this one isn't it, but, let me see. Did I have it here? I think I have it here. Well, what happens with Mitty is she is infamous by this time. Okay? She's infamous by this time. Let me get closer. That's it. So her first case as a madam goes to the New Mexico Supreme Court in 1914. It's completed in 1915. Okay? And she gets off. Okay? So she's infamous by 1917 when this happens, when her fiance comes into her speakeasy and starts jabbing at her with words. Okay? So she pulls out her revolver, puts 2 holes in his coat, don't even touch him. On trial for attempted murder. Now, this is the Wild West. This is Billy the Kid. This is the Lincoln County Wars. That's where all of this is happening. This is a black woman. How vulnerable do you think she is? A black woman in the Wild West. And she strikes oil. Imagine the pressure as the Klan decides it's going to ride, Okay, now we're to boom times. This is the end for the most part. I could go on forever, I promise, but I won't. The 1920s, if you look at anything that says Blackdom's history, they try to end Blackdom's history in 1920, 1921 at best. Why? Because black people struck oil. Now let me put this for you. So if you're teaching history of New Mexico, and New Mexico is only a state that began in 1912, okay? Black folks struck oil in 1920. Would that be significant? It's the only incorporated all-black town in New Mexico, and they strike oil. Is that significant? So then you got to teach it to the kids. Right? You got to teach that to the kids. But if you teach it to the kids, then they won't be ignorant. Then you'll end up with what I had to deal with when I was a substitute teacher, which is a bunch of kids using the N-word all day. All day. But I digress. Okay, so this is the actual ad, 1919. Can you see it up there? Okay. Will pool acreage is the key. In 1919, right before the start of the Roaring 20s, will pool acreage, 10,000 acres. It went all the way up to 20,000 acres. Now, we're going to take a side track, because if you end up reading my book or getting the audiobook, I talk about this thing called Afrotopia. And so to try to explain Blackdom a little bit better than it has been in the past, I include a white woman. Now, who is this white woman? Ruth Loomis Skeen. She happened to live 20 miles south of Blackdom in Artesia. I'll tell you why Artesia is so important in a moment, okay? We're not going to read all of this. I'm just going to read part of this, okay? There are not many colored people in... Now, let me go back. She's writing to W.E.B. Du Bois. Raise your hand if you know who W.E.B. Du Bois is. She's writing to him in Harlem at the Crisis magazine. Now, Ruth Loomis Skeen is a white woman from Artesia. You'll get why that's important in a minute. There are not many colored people in this part of our state, although we have many Mexicans, and the race feeling against them is quite bitter. They are not allowed to eat they are not allowed to enter into a white barbershop nor eat in a white man's eating place. However, In the northern part of the state, they own a good deal of property and are well educated and hold positions of trust and honor. Our governor is a Spanish American born in Old Mexico. Old Mexico. Of course, historically, the Spanish people have a perfect right here. And there are persons in this state possessing a fair attitude towards them, but they are only what Ruskin calls a little group of wise hearts in a wilderness of fools. Near here is a settlement of Negroes, a little town called Blackdom, she put in quotes, consisting of farmers who have wrenched every bit of good out of our bitter soil. They are quiet, good citizens and molest nobody. They have had little chance for the cultural things of life, and I believe they would welcome the opportunity to take your papers and magazines. Of course, they may already know about them. They have a little school and a church. Now, she talks about going over there and taking them the books. Here's the thing. They were already in the Crisis magazine a decade earlier. So this is another example of white allyship and not knowing. See, Artesia was the first place to bar Negroes altogether. It was the first place in New Mexico. It is the center of the Ku Klux Klan, including Roswell. Roswell becomes even more. We'll talk about that in a minute. Again, this is the creation of white folk. And I'm going to skip past this. This is more... and this is one of the ads. I just want you to see, "Will drill at Blackdom." That was there for the whole 1920s. But I won't bother you with that story. I'm going to give you, let's see. Okay. To let you know that they struck oil, September 1, 1920, Blackdom, location made. Anyone that doesn't really ring a bell, right? Go ahead and think about it. The location for the deep test well at Blackdom, south of this city, has just been made. I'm going to skip past to the bottom. It says, a rotary rig will be used to go the first 1,000 feet, and excellent progress is expected. Now, if you have heard the Blackdom story, why do they say Blackdom ended? Huh? Drought. Water. They couldn't find water. If you look in any other stories that I didn't write, you'll find that they said that black folks left in the 1920s because they couldn't find water. But they can go 1,000 feet to find oil. Dexter had water. Roswell had water. Artesia had water. Lake Arthur had water. Blackdom literally sits on a river, the Felix River. Little suspicious. If you want to get a visual, the red part is basically the east side of the Pecos, and on the other side is where Blackdom is. That's just a visual of that right there. Okay. Well, I'm going to give you one more example, and then we're going to move on a little bit faster. Okay. 1921. This is Duran Heron. Okay? Duran Heron. He is a black man. Okay? A black man who, it shows right here, owns, homesteaded 154 acres in 1921. Now, what black man do you know has land, 160 acres, and is just going to leave? That's how the story of Blackdom is told, because it's a part of the intellectual genocide. But let me help you understand. Duran Heron still owns this land today, and he's dead. So there's a documentary that's coming out, that's already out. It's at the Taos Film Festival, and it's headed to the Santa Fe Film Festival, and it's called Back to Blackdom. It's about my work, and it's me taking the descendant of Duran Heron to his land. They still own 1,500 acres. And oh, by the way, they're still pumping oil on that same land. But the family only received royalties into the 1970s. And this is a little bit more about them and their family. Okay, so now, people try to say that, oh, okay, yeah, Blackdom ended in the early 1920s because you could tell because they sold their church. Now, black people strike oil in 1920. Why would they sell their church in 1922? Americanism. If you look currently on our Homeland Security website, you will see Americanism. That's how they describe this current era. You know how they've put out these words from the administration that you cannot be against, and if you are, you're a terrorist. You're a terrorist now if you're against Americanism. Just to be clear, Americanism came from the Knights of the Ku Klux Klan. Just to be clear. Du Bois also wrote back to Blackdom too. This is one of those letters. Again, this is why I give the presentation so that I don't feel bad that I'm not going through everything that I want to. Okay, so I'm going to end. Well, I'm going to give you one more myth. I'm going to bust one more myth, and then I'm going to end with Ruth Loomis Skeen because we just have to. You'll see. Okay, hold on. Let me go back. Okay. That's it right there. Okay, so again, the myth of Blackdom is that Boyer came to Blackdom because his father used to tell him stories in Georgia, and supposedly he was run out by the Ku Klux Klan, and so that's why he ended up in Georgia, or in New Mexico because of his father. But his father supposedly never made it, kind of like Moses, right? So that would make Boyer Joshua, because he actually does. Now, that river that Joshua had to cross was the river Jordan. Yeah. I'm taking you to church. I told you I was going to take you to church. River Jordan, Pecos River. Once you cross the Pecos River, you were out of Jim Crow and into your promised land. You see, the consciousness of black folks operated through that lens. Now, one of the things, they try to make Henry Boyer Moses and never getting him to the promised land, but you'll see in his obituary, he died in his son's home in Roswell, Henry Boyer. So that's another myth buster right there that I wanted to end. So I'm gonna go to this poem. Now, Reba Kane. Now, Ruth Loomis Skeen, she got real close with Negroes, okay? She's a poet, but she got real close with Negroes and decided she would negrotize her name. She went from Ruth Loomis Skeen to Reba Kane on the black side of town. And the title of her poem is Dark Lover, about a white woman with a dark lover. I won't give you any of the critique that the black folk had about it. I'll leave that one alone. This is Du Bois again, talking about something about talking about. Any questions, comments, thoughts, feelings? I don't want to go on much more. I'm going to take you to the land, but go ahead. Any questions, thoughts, feelings, ideas? Did I put too much on you? Yes, schemes. See, you about to get me started. So yes, so Joseph Skeen was a legislator out of Chavez County. And the building in Chavez County, the county clerk's office, is named after Joseph Skeen in Chavez County. Okay? So I am going to take, go ahead. I'm going to take you to the land, but I want some more questions, please, while I'm doing this. It is not. Okay, is the documentary coming to Las Cruces? One day, it missed the Las Cruces Film Festival, so one day, maybe it will with me, but it'll probably be on my website. I'll give you that information in a minute. So I'm going to give you Blackdom today. Okay, this is Blackdom today. I put the colors on it, but I'm going to show you what is going to be the next story here, which is that no one can get to Blackdom because it is still being kept from black folks. Black people cannot get to their land, and they own miles of land. The state. To the right is the state, and to the left is a man who, Emory Urelli, who goes around the United States pestering black women and trying to take their land. You know that thing that's happening in New York right now, deed theft? This other guy, Emory Urelli, he tried to do that to the landowner of the Heron family. Called her up and harassed her, and he's supposedly a billionaire, or rich person. But he owns the other side. The state lands have allowed him to graze cattle on that side. Okay, but this person is not, he's not that you need to be American, but he's definitely not American. But I digress. Okay, so that is Blackdom, how you get there. Now, if you have your phones, I want you to Google one thing so that you'll really know where Blackdom is and kind of get why I started the way I started. Google Roswell Correctional Center. Roswell Correctional Center is at the center of Blackdom. It's not where the 40 acres is. I'll show you the 40 acres in a minute. But it is, if you drew a circle around Blackdom, it would be there. Let me see. Okay. All right. So the green castle here is 40 acres. Here, Roswell Correctional Center. And this is the only road to get in there straight to Roswell Correctional Center. Do you think that's a coincidence? Okay. It gets even stranger because if you go at the bottom, there's a Nike missile site. Okay? So you have the correctional center up here, and you have the Nike missile site down there. So as you can see, this land has been in use, right? So these black folks should be getting money right now, but they're not. But wait, there's more. Here, and where those cattle are, they're grazing on Heron land, which they shouldn't be doing, but I mean, I guess you can according to New Mexico law, but whatever. They're still pumping gas, and you can see it here. This is Blackdom. This is the Heron land, actually. They're pumping gas here. Huh? Yes, at the bottom of that triangle. Okay, so that triangle is really a landing strip. It was because they had the missiles there, they had those landing sites or whatever. So they repurposed it, and then that's how you end up with the correctional center up top. So, thoughts, feelings? I can go anywhere from here. State? Yes, I believe so. Yes, it's not private. I don't believe. Yeah, I don't believe it's private. I believe it's state. Yes, yes, yes. What you will find in most of the, okay, so If you look at a map of where all the correctional centers are, you'll see it was usually a Confederate stronghold where they used to hold indigenous peoples indefinitely and kill them and rape them and do all that other kind of stuff. And you will also find that they're almost on the same land of those original prisons. It's usually on the outskirts of indigenous spaces too. You know what? I'm going to start carrying that map with me. Go ahead. Mm-hmm. 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 I'm gonna say it. I'm letting them finish. I'm gonna let them finish. Go ahead. So the question is about displacement and the Confederates that came in. So in the beginning, 1903-ish, that was more of a Union crowd, right? Those were more the people who still racist, but black folks can exist over there, just not in my backyard. But we can talk about all of the reasons why at the turn of the 20th century from 1900 to 1920, why there was such a rush. But basically, you had a lot of immigrants from Kentucky and North Carolina and those places that started coming into New Mexico, and they brought with them the second wave of the Ku Klux Klan. Now, how and why did all this happen? Freemason lodges. So you know how you go into every town in New Mexico and there's that Freemason symbol with the G and the yes. Masonic lodges are where they nurtured Americanism. They also nurtured it in their churches. So if you go back to the ad, it says lawyers, or how does it say it? It says, I'll go back to it later. But it basically says, it calls them attorney. So attorneys, Freemasons, and I got to go look back at it. But anyway, you could see how the Ku Klux Klan used all of these organizations in order to colonize and put people in those prisons and exploit indigenous, native, and Mexicanos in New Mexico. Part of it had to do with pretending like Mexicans were white people. Because then what do? You bolster the population of what they call white, and then you have supremacy of whiteness. But I promise you, if Latinos or the people who have any ancestry outside of Europe didn't check the box for white, the population would be a little bit less, just a little bit. Like if you go to El Paso, they say that the white population is 80%. You take out the Latinos, that's 66% stripped from the 80. So there's no supremacy. Go ahead.
I want to go back to your original question about if you think there is such a thing as race.
I'm so glad.
It's a social construct.
Uh-huh. So Google, this is the last one. Thank you for Google Human Genome Project. Now, you don't have to, because I'm going to tell you what it is. But Human Genome, like genocide, Genome Project. It ended in 2003. It says, I can tell you who your father is from all these billions of people, but I can't tell you your race. Race is not a marker. Race doesn't exist. So when people are claiming that they're white, and they're not, they're claiming something else besides whiteness. They're not claiming that it's because they're of a race. They're trying to claim themselves to be a part of the club. The one that doesn't get lynched, the one that has ICE asking them because they have an accent, let me see your papers, like they're fugitive slaves. How did Mexicans all of us, or Latinos, Hispanics, whatever phraseology that they're trying to use, but they're always going to call them Mexicans anyway. How did they all of a sudden become the people shoved in these concentration camps? Race, because of this theory called the Great Replacement Theory that is put out by this administration and the Ku Klux Klan. What is the Great Replacement Theory? Anybody? Is that, well, I'm going to give you the worst version. Jews are bringing in these black and brown people to replace white people. And that's why we need to take all of these immigrants and stick them in a concentration camp. Because if Latinos are white people, because that's what they were in 1920, then white people have a problem past the 98th meridian because you have so many Hispanics, Latinos, right? Well, how do you get rid of them? Well, if you can't get rid of all of them, you can put them in fear. How do you put them in fear? You take their kids, take their grandmothers, right? So what do we do? Where do we come in? See, when I do these, I try to say, well, where do I come in? This is where I come in. This is where I come in. I'm wondering, where do you think you come in? I'm not going to put you on the spot like that, but where do you come in? Do you think you come in at this point? Do you think you have any impact on the stuff that I'm talking about that is both past and present? You do. The census is coming out, right? Census is coming back, right? Now you have a bigger understanding of how the census will affect everything that we deal with, because census comes from which department in the government? Commerce. Why do they want to know the population in the Commerce Department? See, about to get me started again. I'm in there. Any questions, thoughts, feelings? It's a lot, huh? I know, good. I'm out of time. Thoughts, feelings, though, before I leave? I don't want to leave anybody hanging.
So I have a question. Is it part of West?
Sorry?
Black and white and color in general? Because I never thought that was color is part of the things and race. I'm coming from Iran.
I understand. Speak Farsi?
Yes.
Okay.
So, yeah, it wasn't an issue for me that when I exposed to here, to this culture, there was just color.
Yes. It's the illusion. That's the American dream, is to be white. When people say the American dream, they want to be white in a white picket fence.
Yeah, Americanism.
See? See how I just fit right in? So if you coming from Iran, if you don't claim white, then you black. Do you want to be treated like a black person?
Yes.
Do you get what I'm saying? Do you get how now it's a coercion on
I
immigrants?
feel the pressure, yeah. I then feel, okay, I mean, that feeling was there. I mean, there's segregated. There's, this side was all white, this side all black.
The way they do it in New Mexico is a little bit different though, right? Where's the black and white in New Mexico? Anybody know? Anybody know how that works? If you're not white, you're black. You're going to get treated like one. You're going to get jailed like one. Right? Black is not a race, it's a condition. It's a condition created by people attempting to manifest white utopia in this Americanism to colonize the brain. Now, what's happening is the Latino population has bought into it. This would not have happened if the Latino population had not bought into the idea of race and all of the other problems. We can go on about that. But understand, if Latinos understood that every time he said Mexicans are rapists, he was talking about Cubans, Puerto Rican, doesn't matter. if it was understood, but it's not understood because that requires a lot of education. But like you said, my time is up. I'm gonna get out of here. Let me turn this microphone.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Turner. May 11th will be our next roundtable, and it's going to be, Dan Townsend is going to do it on, well, we're told that we need to talk with our relatives and plan our deaths. We need to think about how we want to be treated as we die. But Dan's going to talk about what you want to have done with your body after you die. And there are a number of options, and most people don't know about all of them. And so Dan's going to give you the scoop. He's going to talk about costs. He's going to talk about impact on the environment. He's going to talk about options. So I hope you'll be here for that one.
One more thing. Okay, so for me, so Google Afro-Frontier. Now this is just for me so that you'll understand the work that I'm doing. It's continuing to evolve. And by you Googling Afro-Frontier, what you'll have is the ability to get to that documentary, because Afro-Frontier is also my website, but Afro-Frontier is also a phrase that I coined. It's a term that I coined, and it's a field of study. So hopefully one day there'll be the Department of Afro-Frontier. It could be one word, it could be the dash in the middle. I made sure that all of it works. So Afro-Frontier. And
Yeah.
yes, I eventually want to do a book reading. I also wrote a book on all of this stuff too. I want to do a book reading at the Fountain Theater using there's a book store inside of Mesilla. You know what I'm talking about? I love that bookstore. That's the one